Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great week out there so far. There's a lot to cover in this morning's video, and the tropics, of course, will be the big topic. The first thing we'll go over is current conditions, the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll talk about an area right off the coast of the southeast that still has a chance at tropical development, but it has dropped. But we'll spend a little bit of time on that. Don't want to completely ignore it because it could do something tricky. But most of our time we'll go into discussing way out here in the tropical Atlantic, where model guidance really likes the idea of a lot of tropical activity, especially as we get into next week and just the middle portion of the month. So we'll get very detailed as far as model guidance. We'll geek out with you guys a little bit, discuss the environment out here in the Atlantic, steering currents and all that. And after that, we'll talk about today's weather, and then we'll end the video with a Bible devotion. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Of course, if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. And utilize those timestamps, guys. My videos can be very long, but chances are you are going to get all the information you are seeking in this video. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So let's make sure this is going to work, and it is. So we're good to go. I'm going to circle a couple things. This is still post-tropical storm Dexter continues to turn out here. It's a pretty powerful system. It's actually gotten stronger, just lost a lot of its tropical characteristics. It's way up here in the North Atlantic, so I'll get that circle off your screen because this isn't bothering anybody. Next area we're watching, this will be the first area we discuss, and you can't really see much of it on your screen, honestly, out here off the coast of the southeast. Is this region right here. Still has a shot at tropical development over the next few days, but it has dropped. But I mean, it's not popping off a lot of convection right now at all. So we'll get that off your screen, and then we're watching this entire region right in here. And I'll even extend the circle a little bit into portions of the Caribbean. This is what you call the MDR, the main development region, which is what that stands for, tropical Atlantic. And we basically got this monsoon trough, a lot of convective activity, a lot of moisture that's going to have the potential to develop some sort of intact tropical system. Right now, that's not the case. There is an invest actually embedded in this monsoon trough. It's right here. And this is that area that has a chance at development between now and the next 7 days, but is most likely, this energy embedded in this monsoon trough is most likely going to turn out to sea. And we'll discuss that as we get to that portion of the video. I do want to watch kind of the front end energy right here. You know, models like the GFS and its ensembles, like some members are showing something developing out of this. So I am going to speak on that as we go. And then, of course, there's a lot of attention on a area of energy that's really going to emerge fully off Africa over the next few days into this weekend. Though obviously we'll start way over here, and model guidance really likes the idea of this next tropical wave really getting going. So just kind of wanting to show you the entire Atlantic and what we're dealing with currently and what potentially could be what to come. So let's get that off your screen. The latest from around the 5 a.m. updates. We still have this X right here, which is just popping off minimum convection right now, shower and storm activity. But it could develop in this yellow area, has a 30% chance to develop into a tropical or subtropical system between now and the next, really the few days. And it could, take the same route as Dexter took. And I wouldn't be surprised if this sneaks around and takes a name. The next name is the E name, Aaron with an E. But the next area we are watching is this. We've been watching this for a while. This is Invest 96L. If I said 93L earlier in the video, my bad. It's Invest 96L. That doesn't really make a huge difference regardless, but it's right around where this X is, and has a 60% chance now to develop in this orange area. Develop meaning into a tropical depression or a named storm, and like I said, next name is Aaron. So one thing that I want to mention here, and I've been doing this in the last few videos, is I think the National Hurricane Center sometime in the next day or so, maybe today, maybe on the 8 a.m. update, which I'm doing the video obviously before the 8 a.m. update, which drops in about an hour and a half. I think they will put a low chance of tropical development in this region right here for the next wave that we're going to speak heavily on here in a second. It'll be a 20 to 30% chance of tropical development for a wave that could emerge off Africa. And I think the National Hurricane Center will absolutely do this over the next, like I said, day or two. So that is my kind of call, if you will. But it doesn't have it right now, so let's continue to move forward. Let's talk a little bit closer to home first. We're not going to spend long on this. If you're not worried about this, then just skip right ahead. And there'll be a timestamp up for, the area that we're watching out in the Atlantic, or multiple areas. But closer to home, starting off today, we're just going to watch for some energy that could get going off the coast of the eastern U.S. And as we move into Friday, I mean, nothing really intact, consolidated at all. We get into Saturday. And, I would say watch this area right here, sort of the greens and the yellows and oranges embedded in those colors. This is just shower and storm activity out in the eastern U.S. And this could eventually consolidate and gain some tropical features and maybe end up taking a name. But it's heading kind of in the same route Dexter did and not going to bother a soul. Now, of course, we always need to watch our folks out here with these recurving systems like in Atlantic Canada and Bermuda. But I do think this will pass north of Bermuda, and I think that this will stay south of Atlantic Canada like Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, things like that. But, overall, you can't see much on this. Now, I want to continue to watch just a lot of unsettled weather down here across the southeast. Some of this could get over the Gulf or back off the coast of the southeast, but I think a rainy pattern just stays in place across Florida, Georgia, even portions of the Carolinas, Alabama, and some of this energy could get back over the open waters, and a homegrown activity chance could emerge once again. So I do want to watch that. Now, it's hard to see, on the precipitation output, because a few days ago, this was showing an all-out tropical storm at one point, maybe hitting North Carolina. That started dropping off a few days ago, and we're definitely fortunate for that because of what Sean Tall just did to North Carolina. But you can see a little low-level vort developing out here, but it really doesn't pop on your screen until it's way off the coast of the eastern U.S. I do want to watch a little bit of energy down here indicated by the yellows and orange, but it doesn't develop anything in the northern Gulf. So overall, folks, not a whole lot to discuss with this. I will mention an unsettled pattern, whether this is from a tropical system or not, will remain across the southeast, especially for Florida, in the coastal areas of Georgia and the Carolinas. There is a bit of a cutoff with this, but, if you're sick of the rain for the southeast, and I don't know why you would be, but if you're sick of the cooler temperatures, I really think this will stick around. I don't think you're going to get as cool as what we've been, but the rainy kind of cloudy weather, I think it sticks around. We're going to get peaks of sunshine, but I definitely just think we keep this unsettled pattern for the foreseeable future, regardless if this is driven off just tropical energy or just moisture from the Gulf or off the coast of the southeast. So let's go on and switch gears and talk about the area that has everybody's attention, including mine. And I do want to start off with a graphic from the Climate Prediction Center. This is the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook, and this was issued 2 days ago. So you got week 2 and week 3. Week 2, this is valid from August 13th to the 19th, which is basically what? That's around midway next week through the next weekend. It's saying in this red area, there's a 40% chance of tropical development. In this red and white striped area, a 20% chance. And then there's another area it's watching after this, behind this. And then between the 20th and the 26th, as we're getting closer to prime hurricane season, it continues to watch the MDR, the main development region, for a 20% chance of tropical development. But listen, this backs right here exactly what the GFS and the Euro is showing. I really think that we're going to have tropical development in this area, and the Climate Prediction Center is leaning towards that too. And I wanted to show this right off the bat before we get deep into this, because this isn't some random dude on YouTube, being me or anybody else discussing this. This has backing from experts at the Climate Prediction Center, the National Weather Service, NOAA. So let's get into this. I do want to mention 96L first. The sun is coming up on it. And if you're wondering, well, what part of the Atlantic is this? This is just way out there in the central Atlantic. And it looks like your classic tropical wave, a little kind of elongated spin to it, but there's not much. We don't have a dominant low-level circulation out here, but it does look like just an open, just weaker tropical wave. So that's it. Now, we're going to discuss this. We're not going to spend as much time on it because a lot of model guidance likes the idea of this weakening, but we're going to start this off about 48 hours from now. This is what 96L is 48 hours from now based off the Euro. Just a tropical wave gaining latitude, getting north. Okay, you got the Lesser Antilles here, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, etc. over here, just to kind of give you an idea where we're at if you're not sure. So as we're starting to get into Sunday, this energy very slowly drifts, kind of gets tugged north by an upper level low, a tut, and actually is what sort of kind of doesn't allow it to strengthen as much. As we continue to move forward, we get in early next week. If you're like, man, I don't know what time frame this is at, because I'm going to forget, because a lot of words are coming to me at one time. Look up here, TUE, Tuesday, August the 12th. Don't focus so much on Zulu time. So this is Tuesday morning of next week. We got another tropical wave emerging, and this is the one that has everybody's attention. Now, the thing that's going to be tough to figure out next week is model guidance figuring out if maybe there's multiple, maybe there's none, maybe there's one. Model guidance is going to have a hard time latching on to which tropical system it wants to develop. Okay, so what I'm saying is if we go all the way to about 6 days from now, you got a wave right here, and you got a wave right here. Now watch as we move forward, because you think that first wave weakens. And by the way, the area of interest wave has headed up into the North Atlantic, and that's, nothing we're discussing anymore. So I don't want you to get confused. This is the waves behind it that currently does not have an area of interest to it. That could change in the next few updates. But between basically next Friday, not this Friday, you got a strengthening tropical system moving into the Leeward Islands heading towards Puerto Rico with another wave behind it. Okay, so we take it all the way to about day 10. You got a tropical system still strengthening. And the only reason at this point it's not blowing up is because it's going over land. We got another wave right here, another wave right here, both of which are gaining latitude pretty fast. Not as much of a low rider, which is the concerning look. Now let's go on and switch this and look a little bit closer to home for the Caribbean islands and, of course, the U.S. and Central America, Mexico. So here it is. We're starting next Friday, and then we get into about 10 days from now, and we got a tropical storm. Whether if that's the case, this is just a model run. But we look at this, guys. The reason I show you so far out is because we look for a pattern. A lot of people, I read the comments all the time. Trust me, I read every single one of them. The bad ones and the good ones. Then the constructive criticism, the positive feedback, everything. And one of the most common things you read during this time is, it's too far out to look at this. Well, we look at it just like when we're breaking down winter weather or trying to figure out a severe weather event about a week out, to figure out some sort of pattern with this. Don't look at this and say, okay, there's going to be a tropical storm hitting Hispaniola 10 days from now. That's not what you take away from this. We look for a pattern. So we get past 10 days, and once again, the Euro is locked in to some sort of tropical system getting somewhere in the Southwest Atlantic, the Caribbean, and it just likes the idea of that. And the only reason this isn't a hurricane right at this point is because it's just rolling over the Greater Antilles, which we know have higher elevations and stuff like that. But eventually the Euro goes crazy and develops a strong hurricane in the Western Caribbean, and we're just going to stop it there. And it likes this wave behind that one too. Okay, but it's turning out to sea. Okay, so enough of that. What about the Euro AI model? It continues to like the idea of development. It follows its brother, the Euro, right? And we still don't know a lot about this model. We're still trying to figure out if it's a decent one or not, but it's still model guidance. So we go about 6 days from now, there's our wave. Not the area of interest wave, the wave behind this that I'm going to go on and say it will be dubbed an area of interest by the National Hurricane Center in the coming updates. And we get a week out, that's the wave. Here's another one behind it. The Euro shows the same thing. But here goes the first wave. Here's a second wave. This is 10 days from now. You got 1,007 millibar low. And you're like, Mitch, I don't know what you mean by millibar low. Once you start to get that number closer to 1,000 and lower, that's when you're starting to get tropical storm status or stronger. Okay, so the lower that millibar number here, the number on top of the L, the stronger the system. So we'll stop it here, and we'll go on and move it a little bit closer, just like we did with the Euro. And the Euro AI model almost follows the exact same path as the Euro, but takes it a little bit north and gets it away from the islands, kind of grinds the northern coastline of Cuba as a hurricane, goes over Cuba, but I mean, it continues to like the idea. It's not hitting Florida this time, but it continues to like the idea of a strong tropical cyclone getting into either the Southwest Atlantic. We don't want that. The Caribbean, we don't want that. And then eventually into the Gulf. We certainly do not want that. Okay? Now, what about the latest GFS? This is new to me. And once again, we only got about 7 to 10 days out. That's been the general theme in the morning and evening videos. I get this video, and I hope I have at least 10 days worth of the GFS, but it seems like I'm always just short of it. But anyways, what does the GFS show? Here's our first wave. The GFS still wants to ride this kind of low. It just does not want to let go of the idea of cruising further west than turn out to sea. So this is our first wave. It actually tries to develop it and get it close to Bermuda. Here's the wave behind it that has everybody's attention. Showing up on your screen. Struggles, gains latitude fast. It's wanting to strengthen this first tropical wave, which is the one that has a 60% chance of developing, but it has it turning out to sea. But it wants to get this south of Bermuda and strengthen it. So we get about a week out. Okay. It wants to turn the first one into a hurricane. It has another tropical wave back here, and it has the one that has a lot of people's attention right here at about day 7, day 8. Okay. Let's go on and switch it to this. Let's jump to this. Hurricane right here from our area of interest currently. Kind of actually getting west of Bermuda and missing it. And what does it do with this? Well, we're not quite sure because we don't have the rest of the run. But that is a well intact tropical wave heading into an area of the ocean that we don't like to see. But I will mention, because I'm going to do that, let's go back to the OOZ. It still shows that first area of interest developing. Here's that wave that the Euro likes. It's much further south. And of course, the GFS continues to move this and cruise it into an area of the ocean that nothing is stopping it from rapidly developing except landmass. And sure enough, sneaks a system into the Gulf and it rapidly intensifies it. But the latest GFS looks like it's got this wave here. So it's just the flip-flopping of the waves. But once again, like I just said, what I want you to take from all of this, guys, is a favorable period of tropical activity is on the way. That's the most I want you to take out of this. And I also want you to take something else out of this too when we discuss the environmental background. But hang tight with me. But what about the Euro ensemble? What does it show? First off, this is the first wave that has that 60% chance to develop. The overnight Euro ensemble doesn't show near as many members developing with this. Here comes the second wave. Still showing a couple members developing something in the Caribbean. But this is starting off next Monday evening. And we get all the way to about a week from today. There's the first wave. And please don't think there's a million low pressures out here in the Atlantic. Remember, the Euro ensemble makes up 51 members. And in this output on Weather Nerds, which is the site I'm using, awesome site by the way, it throws all the members that form into a decent in strength low pressure. Okay, that's the way I like to explain it. A couple members here from that lead energy on the monsoon trough currently. This can get very confusing. I hope I'm not confusing you. But this is the wave that has everybody's attention. This is a heavy signal, but it's a pretty spread out signal too. So I'm actually going to get a little bit closer to this now. And the screen's probably going to have to load, so just try to ignore that. I know that's probably a little annoying on your screen. But, you know, let's go on and just take this all the way out to 10 days. So what I want you to take from this, there's many L's on your screen, some that have a deeper low pressure, a lower number, stronger low, and then some that are weak, like 10, 11, above 10, 10 millibars. But one thing I want you to take from this also is you still got members way back here at 10 days, and you got a lot of members way over here, already sneaking into the Southwest Atlantic and the Caribbean. And you got some in the middle ground. Just what you take from this is that there is a heavy signal for this tropical wave that will emerge off Africa to develop. But it hasn't came off Africa yet. What about the GFS ensemble? Same thing. There's your signal for the first wave, the area of interest. There's that heavy signal for the lead energy. And I did this in last night's video too, and I'm going to do it again. This right. Let's do this. No. Let's go back. Apologize. Let's look at this. This is the Caribbean. You see this energy right here coming up on your screen? That's what the GFS ensemble likes. It's trying to sneak this north and trying to develop this. This is a lot of members because the GFS ensemble only makes up 21 members. So I would not rule out, and see where it starts, right where I just showed you. I wouldn't rule out something sneaky in the shorter term getting going in the Caribbean. But of course, this is the main show back here with the wave that comes off Africa, and the members highlight a pretty high risk of development. But I do want you to notice a lot of these members begin to turn out to sea, which we'll talk about why. That is, there's a decent risk that this could recurve too. But look how some of these members that do develop in the Caribbean get very strong and head into the Gulf. So there's many things to put your eyes on. So the environmental background, this is of course the part of the video that will lull some people to sleep, but let's try to explain this in a way where you guys can understand, and that's a huge goal with this channel. I never want to just jump on here, show you a bunch of flashy model runs and head on out, right? So we know that the Atlantic Basin has been plagued with dry air, stable conditions, which is a good thing. These tropical systems don't like that. So this is kind of our lead wave from the Euro ensemble. Let's make sure that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. And this is cut and dry, guys. Green, moist air, the brown, dry air. Tropical systems don't like the brown, the dry air. So this is our first wave. Whether it develops or not, it does throw a plume of moist air sort of around this ridge. Here comes the wave or the area that we need to watch a lot. Little bit of a finger of dry air out in front of it, but I really think that this wave right here will really moisten up the MDR, the main development region. And this throws a lot of moist air now into the Caribbean, the Southwest Atlantic, and it kind of sets up the environment a little bit better for any kind of wave action that comes behind this after day 10. And then once you get past day 10, it really just looks like there's a lot of moist air out here, indicated by the shade of green. Okay, so what do you gather from that? You gather the fact that a lot of tropical waves this time of the year out here in the Atlantic kind of sacrifice themselves in their moisture they bring with it to waves behind it. It kind of moistens up the environment out ahead of these next tropical waves that will come in and then hope to have a better environment to work with. This happens a lot every hurricane season. So the next thing I'll look at is if anything gets, let's draw on this a little bit, if anything gets in the Southwest Atlantic and the Caribbean or the Gulf, there is light flow aloft. What you're looking at here, and you're probably wondering, man, what's up with all these just weird lines with arrows embedded into them? This is the flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere, like 35, 40,000 feet up in the air. And so what you gather from this is you're not seeing a lot of slashes of blue. So you see this blue up here, down here. This indicates stronger winds in this area of the atmosphere. Like I said, 35, 40,000 feet up in the air. That's not always a bad thing with these tropical systems, depending on the flow and also depending on the directional flow in the lower levels and if it's working in tandem with the flow in the upper levels. But anyways, you gather from this that at day 10, there's not much upper level flow in this area of the Atlantic, those three regions. So that means that you don't have a ton of wind shear. And these systems sort of can create their own environment a lot better. And in my opinion, this would likely allow for any kind of tropical system, if it gets in this area, to move pretty slow. There's not a lot tugging it one way or the other. And they just kind of can create their own environment a lot better. And you're probably going to have a lot of divergence aloft, a lot of air being sort of able to disperse out away from the system better. You can see this a lot better with the actual Euro operational run. And this is valid for, not a forecast, this is for next Friday. Has a low pressure getting just outside of Puerto Rico, and it has one heck of an upper level pattern out ahead of it, a one that supports rapid strengthening. The only reason it doesn't is because it grinds all the way across the Greater Antilles. But of course these systems spin like this cyclonically, right? But in the upper levels above this system, air is being dispersed out rapidly. Okay, just like this. We call this a ULAC, upper level anticyclone. Now, if you do look right here, maybe a little bit of flow kind of working up against the system. Listen, all tropical systems work with a little bit of wind shear. None of them have a perfect environment, just like none of us humans are perfect, right? But this would allow for a lot of disbursement of air, divergence aloft above the system. So when you get air that's coming up through these systems, allowing for the sustaining of convection, shower and storm activity, that air gets rapidly pushed out on top of the storm, allowing for more air to rise rapidly, and then it's just a continuous cycle. So if you get an environment that supports just a lot of rising air, These systems are able to fire consistent convection, shower and storm activity. Shower and storm activity is going to create a moist environment. Tropical systems like moist air. They don't like dry air. So I hope that makes sense. But this is something we discuss a lot more when we have a tropical system and we're trying to track it into a shorter term environment. So the next thing we'll talk about is something that's obvious. It's very warm sea surface temperature wise. So these 28s, 29s, 30s, 31s, 32s degrees Celsius readings you see, and that's equivalent to the 80s and upper 80s and low 90s in some cases in Fahrenheit. So no reason in staying very long on this. The waters are very warm. One thing that's alarming to me is the Southwest Atlantic. This is really, really warm. It's an area of the ocean that I've just been really concerned about lately. In fact, this area up here is warmer than the Caribbean. You're thinking, how is that? And then, yeah, just wild stuff. Now, the next thing we'll discuss is steering currents, and then we'll wrap this portion of the video up. And listen, I'm not sold on these waves impacting land. I don't want to come on here and freak anybody out for no reason. I'm not sold on this being a pattern that supports landfalling tropical systems. The reason is if we go about a week out, okay, week from right now, the blues is lower pressure. Sort of the warmer colors, the salmon or orange, whatever color you want to call this is high pressure. So you don't have a huge high pressure over the North Atlantic. So this is the lower pressure being generated by tropical waves. Lower pressure. Okay, so, you know, this kind of, you're probably going to have numerous tropical waves cruising through this area. You don't have a well-positioned high pressure, which is this right here, that supports just a total east to west movement of these tropical systems like this. Instead, you sort of have a weakness right in here, no real strong influence of ridging, because the ridging is really pushed off further in the North Atlantic, further to the northeast. So say if there's a tropical system right here a week from now, if it's strong enough, I think it will recurve. If it's weak, I think it could hang a little further to the west for longer. So you would think, well, we don't want this to get strong. Well, honestly, you do want it to get strong. Faster, there's a higher chance it turns out to sea if it does that. If it stays weaker, it'll drift further west. And this is going to be tough to explain, but in different levels of the atmosphere, there's different directional pulls. So basically, this is going to feel the pull, a little bit of pull around this high pressure, a little bit more, if this system is stronger, because a stronger system is taller. It feels those upper level winds a little bit more. Then you add in the fact that a stronger low pressure is always going to want to fight to gain latitude, to go north. Okay, so a week out, it supports any kind of decent in strength low pressure to sort of drift north, in my opinion. But if it stays weak long enough, it could definitely just hang with us for a while. And there is a possibility, of course, that this ridge could kind of build down into this area. On the Euro ensemble, which is a smoothed out look of possibilities, it really keeps the main ridge up here. So I could see a system kind of gaining latitude fast, but maybe just kind of cruising, not a dramatic turn like that. I don't see that. But, you know, it's just stuff we have to watch, guys. And, you know, one thing we can look at, too, is the operational run, which just shows a parade of tropical systems out here at day 10. It keeps that first wave pretty weak and as it gets closer to the Caribbean. So therefore, it kind of is able to sort of just drift more west. If this first system is, say, a hurricane, maybe right here, it probably is going to try to turn faster. But, I mean, there's just not a huge Atlantic high up here, in my opinion, to really just force all these into this area. So, you know, I think that, like I said, you just got to watch a couple things. How strong do these potential systems get? How fast? Do they remain weak and then blow up in the Southwest Atlantic, the Caribbean, the Gulf? There's a lot to figure out, and there's a lot to discuss, and I'm very passionate about this, as you can tell probably in my voice, but it's fascinating to see what steers these things. It really is. So Anyways, moving past this, we don't want to forget about today's weather. We do have some weather. We got a ridge spiking across the plains. We got an area of energy going across Montana. We got energy surging south through Iowa. You can see the flows going like this, and it drops down like this, and we just got a lot of moisture dancing around still across the eastern U.S., even in areas where you're not seeing rainfall. Like, for example, the radar really wasn't showing much in my neck of the woods in central South Carolina, but we were getting a very fine mist out there, so very fall-like. So just a lot of tropical moisture around, and we still got a little bit of dry air creating just lower temperatures too. It's insane. We have not hit 80 degrees or higher at my house since August the 1st. Literally a extremely rare pattern being discussed by the National Weather Service here in Columbia. But watches, warnings, and advisories. Heat advisories up for the middle of the country in the orange. We do have an extreme heat watch up here for a few counties in northern Wisconsin and areas of Minnesota. Red flag warnings litter across the central Rockies, extreme heat warnings across Arizona and the southern Cal. So it's getting very hot out here. But the entire eastern U.S., folks, quiet. Now, there is a chance for some big-time storms today, just in the northern areas of the country. Typically, if we're going to see it, we see it up here this time of the year, where the jet is still further to the north. But enhanced risk across areas of the Dakotas into a very small section of Minnesota. And let's zoom into this right here real quick. Look at this, level 3 out of 5 risk of severe weather. What's driving this? A decent tornado threat in this region today, guys. And we have a couple enhanced risk areas up for the next couple of days. But 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location in this brown region. 2% risk around it. Wind threat. If you live in that red area, folks, 30% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles in a given location. The yellow area, 15% risk of that. The black outline region, 10% risk of winds exceeding 75, 80, 85 miles per hour. These storms will be packing a punch. Hail threat, significant also. Not as a large area, but if you live in this red area, 30% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. 15% risk of that in the yellow. And then the black outline region with the black dashes going in between, you got a 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. Excessive rainfall outlook, not expecting much in the way of any flooding today. For the southeast, we're just going to deal with some wraparound moisture, sort of pivoting back into the Carolinas. Spotty showers, another cool day expected. Maybe some heavier rainfall in northern Georgia, southwest North Carolina. A lot of rain off the coastline with a low trying to form. Tropical downpours across Florida. And some storms could make it all the way back into middle Tennessee, Cumberland Plateau. We'll watch for that, and then we wake up tomorrow morning. And we'll kind of have a similar pattern, but I do think we'll begin to warm up for a lot of areas. The Northeast, not really a whole lot to speak on. A little bit of flow from the north moves down into the Adirondacks, Vermont, New Hampshire, so some pop-up downpours are possible in this area. So be aware of that. So we move past that, and we look at the south central U.S. Not much to speak on either. A little bit of downpour activity down near Galveston and Houston and southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama. A little bit of shower and downpour activity also across New Mexico. Might kind of slowly drift into Oklahoma and the panhandle of Texas. But not anything too crazy up here. The north central U.S., big storms up in North Dakota coming out of Montana. You can see them. These are very intense looking, and these storms will probably hang tight all the way past midnight tonight into western and northwestern Minnesota, which is why you have the severe weather threat that trails off into this region. But a closer look at these storms, guys. I mean, this is North Dakota. This is getting into 6 p.m., 7 p.m. You see those squiggly lines coming off those cells? Those are stronger updrafts, potentially rotating. It's going to be tough to figure out exactly where these storms hit, but this is 8 p.m., this is 9 p.m., 10, 11, 12, 13. Just kidding. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I actually wasn't kidding. I actually did that without even thinking about it. But 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. So some powerful storms will sweep across this area this afternoon to this evening. And then eventually this could make it all the way into Minnesota later tonight. As you can tell, big line of storms blast through Grand Fargo, then sneaks into the northern half of Minnesota tomorrow morning. So be ready up here for a loud morning to kickstart your Friday for sure. Western U.S., just watch out for those storms in Montana today. They'll eventually make their way into North Dakota. Probably just a stormy day in general across across Montana. You guys are kind of stuck in the flow on top of the ridge. But the temperatures, still a cooler day. Look at this pocket of cool air that just will not go away across the Carolinas and Virginia, Northeast Georgia. Northeast, 70s and 80s. But, man, once you start to get west into Tennessee, Mississippi, you get back to summer. Sorry, guys. I hate it for y'all. We've had a nice break here in the Southeast, but it is warming right back up to just terribly hot conditions across the middle of the country, as you can tell. So that's all I got. Let's create a timestamp. Let's make North Dakota our timestamp, and let's do our Bible devotion this morning. So this morning we're in Romans chapter 12, verse 12, and this is a quick scripture. A lot of people might be familiar with it. Romans chapter 12, verse 12. Rejoice in hope, be patient in affliction, be persistent in prayer. So I wrote in my notes, rejoice with the promises of God and all the glory to come in heaven. The hope will give you the strength you need to overcome the hardships of this world. Be patient, trust and believe, and know that God is working through the challenges of life with you. I do believe we are called to come out the other side as an improved person. If we have patience and work through these situations the way that God calls us to, don't stop praying, the good and the bad. So I do want to hit on the part where I said I do believe we're called to come out the other side as an improved person. And that kind of hits on, the rejoice in hope, be patient in affliction. And the be patient part, some people just want to rush through the trials in life. Of course, we want to go on the other side, right? We want to be done with it, but I don't know how God works. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything, right? But I do believe God allows us to kind of stay in these tough times, whether they're self-inflicted or not, and that we're called to come out the other side of this stuff, like I said, as an improved person, a more Christ-like person. We're not going to be Him, but we can try to be like Him. We can strive to be like Him. We have obviously the sinful nature we do, but we're not called to, if we don't get anything out of these tough times, then, we're going to handle it the same way when it comes back. And my entire testimony in my life is an example of that. I try to find the good and the bad things, and I try to have patience, and I struggle with patience, guys. I try to have patience and just listen to God when I'm in these tough times. Like, don't make a quick decision to something that's going to put a temporary Band-Aid on it, and it's not going to have a permanent solution. The permanent solution through your tough times is Jesus. So never stop praying, guys. Never stop talking to God. Like I said, I've told you guys this a lot. I talk to Him like He's my best friend in my car beside me, like He's physically there. I do it on my walks around the neighborhood. I do it in my quiet time. It's huge, especially when you're going through something tough. It's a clarity I can't explain. I mean, it doesn't make the challenge just go away, but it certainly makes you feel better about it. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Appreciate y'all. And y'all have a wonderful day. We'll do it again in the next video. We'll talk soon.